Hi, I'm Scott Wyman. I'm the training coordinator at Central Texas College in Killeen, Texas, and this is my first installment, my first attempt at doing an online recording, a software simulation. So if it's not perfect, bear with me. I apologize, but I think we'll get something accomplished anyway. What we're going to do today is we're going to create a macro in Excel that's used to colorize alternate rows for whatever cells I select on a worksheet. The first part of this we need to do is bring up our developer tab on the ribbon. By default it doesn't show up, so you need to go to the File tab and then go down and click on Options. We're working in Microsoft Office 2010. Office 2007 is a little bit different. We're going to click on Options. And here's the difference between Office 07 and Office 2010. In 2010 we can customize the ribbon, and that's where we're going to find the Developer tab option. We're going to click on Customize Ribbon, and then we're going to come over, and here under Main Tabs you'll see the Developer option. We just click in that checkbox to turn on the Developer tab. And as soon as we click OK to close out of the options, you'll see the Developer tab shows up on the ribbon. Go ahead and click on the Developer tab, and here you'll see we have our Record Macro Tools, the Visual Basic button, and Macros button. We're going to start by clicking on the Record Macros button. And the first thing we do when recording the macro is give it a name. We'll call this AltRow. When naming a macro, you can't use any spaces in the name, and the name must begin with a letter, and they cannot contain any special characters like a question mark or an asterisk. Then we're going to come down here. You can also add a shortcut key if you'd like. I'm not a big fan of shortcut keys because Control and just about every key on the keyboard already does something, and I don't want to mess up anything that's already there. So we're going to come down here and we're going to type a description of what this macro does. Colorize alternate rows of my selected cells. Click on OK. And now we're ready to perform the actual action that we want the macro to do. So we're going to start by clicking on the Home tab. Over here in the Styles group you'll see the Conditional Formatting button. Go ahead and click on that. Down towards the bottom we're going to add a new rule. We're not going to use any of the preset ones that it has. We're going to add a new rule. For this rule it's going to be based on a formula, so click on the Use Formula to determine which cells to format option. Click down here in the Format Values where this formula is true. And we're actually going to use a nested function in this one. We're going to use the mod and the row function. All Excel functions and formulas begin with an equal sign, then comes the mod function, and here's the nested part. We're going to nest the row function inside that. We're not going to use any arguments for the row function, so we just do a left and then a right parenthesis, and then the argument for the mod function is going to be 2. That means it's going to modify every second row, and then we close that parenthesis. Now we're going to set our format, and we're going to set the fill format, and you can pick any color from the color palette here. You can apply patterns. I don't recommend patterns. It makes it hard to read the numbers on the worksheet or the words. We'll go with just a nice bright yellow just to show you, how this works and to give you an idea. You could also, if you want, you can go with a drastic color change. You can go with a black fill, maybe change the font color to white to give a the mirrored effect, white and black, black and white. And there it shows you what it's going to look like when it's done. Click on OK, and that's all we need to do for this macro. So now we need to stop the recording process. If you come down here to the bottom left hand corner, you'll see the Stop Macro button. Go ahead and click on that, and now we're ready to try out the macro. One way to run the macro is to go to the Developer tab, click the Macro button, and then select your macro from the list and then click Run. But that's a lot of work. I like to be more efficient than that. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new button on our Quick Access toolbar by right-clicking on the Quick Access toolbar. Click on Customize the Quick Access toolbar. We're going to change our choose commands from popular commands to macros. Here's the macro we just created, the AltRow Macro. We're going to add that to the Quick Access toolbar. I don't like the button image that it has here for our macro, so we're going to click on the Modify button, and we're going to use, I'm going to use this icon, and I'll change my display name to Colorize Alternate Rows. That'll be the tooltip that shows up when I point to the button. Click on OK. Click on OK again to get out of the Excel options. There's my new button. When I point to it, the tooltip shows me it's going to colorize alternate rows. Now, if you remember, it's going to colorize alternate rows of my selected cells. So I'll come down to the worksheet. I'll just select a group of cells, click on my button. There's my macro applied. And if I add something, you'll see that it picked up the font and the fill changes. And that's how you create a macro to record a conditional formatting, to colorize alternate rows of your selections.